Steve, I think you're known in the industry, but thanks for joining. And you're known to us at Deep Tempo as a great advisor. So thank you for being a part of our journey as we worked away for a while in stealth and then came out last November. So we just thought it'd be a great opportunity to chat with you. Why not record the chat and share the chat with those who may be interested? So it's 2025, unbelievable, by the way. The Chiefs just actually lost a Super Bowl. And what do you see in security? What's on your mind as you're advising us and others and enterprises in 2025?
Yep. So couple of themes. The first one is efficiency versus effectiveness. That in cybersecurity, okay, much of what we're trying to do is be more efficient with our resources for a variety of reasons. But what the business is holding us accountable to is being more effective at stopping the attack. Okay? In that translation then kind of leads into AI, right? Which was, how can AI be able to provide us additional acceleration into not what has happened with regards to protecting my company, but what is happening. I've got to get closer to real time to be able to pivot from log-based vulnerability identification to data-driven material exploitability alerting. See that pivot? Okay. That is what most of the conversations, when I look at the SOC and when I look at AI, are truly, right, where we as security practitioners are trying to elevate our practice at being able to stop the attack.
Yeah. Makes perfect sense. And what do you see as the real constraints on the part of the enterprise? I mean, is it money, time, expertise, all of the above, better attackers, I suppose, regulators for better and not better? What's like top of mind constraints for enterprises? And just really curious.
Yeah, I would say part of this is this conversation around prevention versus detection containment.
Yep.
Right. So what does resiliency look like? Because as much as I'd like to prevent the attack, I'm not 100%. Therefore, I have to look at this concept of resiliency or detect contain. Right. And in doing that, right, I have to look at the ability to have a first line of defense, right, which is how do I prevent? I have to have a last line of defense, which is when prevent doesn't work, how do I detect contain? And then I need to be able to provide evidence of defense. Because for many companies, ultimately, it's a GRC problem, governance, risk, and compliance. And my ability to provide evidence of implementation of my security policies, right, so that I can meet SOX or PCI or HIPAA, right, is important. But more interestingly, as we're trying to establish risk-based protection, okay, which was, I can't protect everything equally. So how do I establish a risk profile and manage my resources, people, process, and technology to protect what's most important to the company, not just try to protect all the company? And I would say that's how you're seeing that transition, right, to moving to a more active identification component and how that transition looks.
Right. Well, as it happens today, we announced that we've come through a POC with Bank of New York. Again, seriously, all the input from the advisors and everyone has helped us, I think, winnow in on at least a pain point defense in depth. In our case, if you had to summarize it, I tend to summarize it quickly as learned indicators on net flow. That's as the beachhead. And man, there's a lot of interest, I would say, out there. and thankfully some large banks and others adopting the approach. But how would you speak to a user, and you already started to do it, about defense in depth versus, I don't know, being in a hermetically sealed enterprise, air gap everything, turn the lights out and go home? I mean, I guess it is about prioritizing based on the crown jewels, or how are people thinking about, and how should they think about defense in depth versus that perimeter-based defense?
Yep. And I'm gonna kind of focus the answer here is around AI again and around the SOC. Okay, because the SOC is more about the detect contain, right? Is what do I do when my prevent controls have failed? And that's where we put a lot of resources, right? We try to ingest a lot of data, a lot of log files primarily, to be able to find when we've been breached. The challenge with that historically has been that's primarily looking in the rearview mirror. What has happened? And I'm finding what happened, where the big opportunity here is I need to progress from what happened to what's happening, right? I need to have a proactive stance in detect contain where I can do something about it. Okay, 275 days ago, it's kind of over, right? And so therefore, how do I pivot to a more proactive perspective, which means let's not look at trying to find vulnerabilities that have been exploited, but let's look at that log data, and I'll call it log data, or I should say security context now, to be able to identify material exploitability. What's happening now that I can do something about? Okay. And the better I'm able to look at it that way, is the better I'm able to get to stopping the attack versus just simply identifying attacks that have occurred.
Mm-hmm.
And when you translate that into the SOC and you look at your level 1, level 2, level 3 analysts, this is that great opportunity here I see with AI and the work that you're doing to be able to ingest traditional data in conjunction with new, and using all of AI, not just Gen AI, to be able to leverage the MITRE ATT&CK framework and others to tell me what's actually happening and move into a containment posture. And the way that translates is for my level 1, level 2 analysts, today around efficiency is how can I use AI to feed the analysts more data? So I'm augmenting the analysts with AI. And what we're seeing now with the work that you're doing and others is we're moving to let's let AI drive more of the detection containment process and then augment with the humans when we need them, right, to complete final containment or post-containment, rather than just trying to feed them more data to figure out if they need to do containment. So there's a shift now in the weaponization of AI for defense that is also changing how AI is being ingested by the SOC 1, SOC 2, SOC 3 analysts to do it in a very different way that results not in more efficiency, but much more effectiveness at stopping the attack. And that is what has us all excited.
Really well said. I'm taking notes. I know we're also getting a transcript and a video out of this, but thank you. Just one more. I tell you, coming in to a lot of places, including some amazingly sophisticated places, I still see a lot of signature-based detections. And any thoughts on, is it overhyped or underhyped, the notion that AI is enabling attackers to avoid where a lot of signature-based detections? I know Gemini is recording this for us. I believe Gemini or that team from Google just put out a report on that, but any perspective on is AI causing signature-based detections to have a sort of end of life, or at least an oh shit moment?
So, and this gets back to how have we weaponized how have the bad guys weaponized AI for offense? Okay. And what we're seeing is they're able to become more effective at breaching certain barriers that I've traditionally had that have been pretty effective. Okay. Why? Because they're using AI to fuzz faster, quicker, more dramatically, okay, things that are signature-based detection, right? So they can just throw more at me, okay, and I then lose control. I can't manage it all. I can't see it fast enough, okay? Or like in the case of human identity, right? The digital persona has become so perfect that they phish my teams, social engineer my team so much more effectively, okay? And that's another form I would call of signature-based, right, prevention, which is they're able to change that. And so now the question is, well, how are we weaponizing AI for defense? Okay. And that's part of this conversation, which is we need to move faster at determining when AI is attacking us. Okay. And we need to be smarter, not about just determining when they attack us, but that move from vulnerability to material exploitability is and identify when they've reached far enough in, okay, that they've left enough footprints, right, breadcrumbs, that I can detect them and not worry about just throwing them out because they got in. They got to be in a position to do real damage. That gives me a little more time in my AI, right, to be able to pivot in a more weaponized state for defense. That's how I see that conversation moving forward is we're losing some of the efficiency, effectiveness of our perimeter controls and how do we reinvent them because we got to use AI for defense to fight the AI for offense.
Super well said, as always, Steve. Thank you very much. And I will say, look, in the time that it took to listen to this YouTube video, you could have tried out Deep Tempo on Snowflake, assuming you have an account. So please do that. Please get back to us. It is possible indeed to use deep learning for collective defense, and please engage with us because it is a new world on the attack side, and we think on the defense side as well. But thank you again, Steve, and yeah, we're talk to you soon, I'm sure.
All right, thank you for letting me be part of this journey with you. I'm equally excited. Yes, I'll take a look, and you know what I mean. I think good things are coming.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. Talk to you soon.
Okay.
Bye.